This is Frank Skinner. This is
Absolute Radio.
Now, this is Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio, and now over to my assistant.
Good morning, everyone. You can text the show on 81215. You can follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Frank on the Radio, or you can email the show via frank@absoluteradio.co.uk. Back over to Frank in the studio.
Thank you. You only missed one key part, and that's that I'm here with Emily Dean and Pierre Novelli. Now,
Well, I didn't know that was part of my duties.
Yeah, if somebody said to me, what mistake is Emily going to make reading out the opening bit, I wouldn't have thought she'd miss herself out. My.
I didn't think I was being given that level of responsibility, but thank you.
So, look, Emily and I went to Ascot this week, Royal Ascot, and I, wait for it, came back a little hoarse. It actually happened.
Yeah.
When I arrived at Ascot, Emily will testify, my voice was perfectly fine. And now it's a bit, I am sailing.
It got progressively hoarser as the day progressed.
It did. Progressively hoarser as the day.
I quite like that.
You're living in jokes now.
Yes, I know.
You're slipping on banana
You're
peels.
talking as if I don't live in jokes.
No, normally it's internal, though.
The closest I've ever been to living in a joke, and I must have told this before, was I went for a haircut. And the guy said, how do you want your hair? And I said, I quite like your hair. Can I be like yours? He said, yeah, I have number 2 all over. I said, well, whatever it's called, I like it. It looks good. When he cut it, it was like super short. And I said, hold on, this is much shorter than... He said, yeah, mine's grown out quite a bit. And that was the closest I've ever been to actually being a character in a joke.
That's a perfect does your dog bite style gag.
I quite like your voice, a little hoarse.
If it stays like this, we'll be fine. If it deteriorates...
It just sounds like you've had a bit of bother in your life.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I haven't really.
Okay. It sounds like you might know someone who was sprung from the moor, as I once heard in a gangster documentary.
We had a guest on here once who I won't name, and he said, you like me, Frank, have had quite a bit of tragedy in your life. And I said... Well, I haven't. No, I haven't. Got the wrong bloke. Weird. Anyway, so we had a great day at the races.
Oh.
When I turned up, we went with Emily came and my sister-in-law Rachel and my very dear friend Tracy, and I was already in my top hat and tails when Tracy arrived, and she said. She said, what would your friends from Smethwick say if they could see you now? She said, you've gone from the Bash Street kids to Lord Snooty. That was the journey. But it was a good old day, wasn't it, Em?
Oh, I won money.
Yes, she did. I didn't.
And we did something very classy, which I think went down really well in the Royal Enclosure.
You shook the horse's hands.
No, it was better than that. Frank made me hold my winnings, my £3 £20 notes. He said, fan them out.
Yeah, fan them out. Because you're just holding them in a block. You don't hold money like that.
No.
It has to form a fan.
Forgive me for never having done this before.
Not unless it's a stack. Then you can hold it in a block.
Yeah,
like
so
that.
we're in the Royal Enclosure.
We
with
weren't
the
at
Lord
a horse
Snooty.
fair. We were at Royal Ascot. So,
And there's the likes of Princess Anne wandering around.
Yeah.
I am standing there holding my £20 notes in a fan as instructed by Frank, whilst he takes a picture of me.
Oh,
Okay.
good, yeah.
I would say that if you wanted a sign of our classiness that day, you would say that the King and Queen in a carriage went within about 15 yards of us.
Wow.
But a much bigger response on the day was in the car on the way there when we saw the 80s pop sensation Marilyn out for a run.
Frank, what I
There was
liked,
much more excitement, and whoa, look! No one could believe
what I
it.
liked is Frank's friend Tracy. She pointed it out, and it was in such a brilliantly casual way. She was in the middle of telling a very long anecdote, and then she went, "Oh, there's Marilyn," and we screamed. We absolutely screamed. Are you familiar with Marilyn's work?
I'm not.
Okay, well, you can Google him in the break. I have to say, by the way, that when Tracy tells a very long anecdote, it doesn't feel very long.
Oh, no.
Her and Emily had more mutual friends than anyone you can imagine. They were just, it was like me and my sister-in-law sat, it's like sitting at a firework display, the two of them firing off stories and blah, blah, blah. It was amazing. And Tracy actually said at one point, I don't really want to go to the races. Can we just drive around in the car and do this? But wow, women, what women they are.
Frank Skinner on
Absolute Radio.
We met quite a few characters at Ascot.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, we certainly did.
Jill Scott.
Yeah, Jill Scott was there.
Oh, yeah?
Do you know who Jill Scott is?
I think so.
Frank, do you want to explain?
Well, she's what they now call a lioness.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Well, she's a retired lioness, but and she won the jungle thing.
Yes, that's right.
So many lionesses do. if push comes to shove. Yeah, so it was. I was very excited. I tell you what, of all the famous people I've met,
Yeah.
I think the one who's most exactly what you expect her to be was Jill Scott. Just a really nice, funny, lovely woman. Anyway, there were men there, can I point out. I had a special job there. I was presenting the winning jockey of the last race.
Oh.
And well, the owner gets the trophy. The
Yeah.
jockey gets like a snuff box.
That's quite feudal, isn't it?
Yeah. I think it was a snuff box. I can't imagine what else. It's a small silver box. I don't know who
fine.
does
I hope
snuff.
so.
Maybe it's big in the racing, and I'm going to use the F word,
Yeah.
fraternity. One of the few fraternities one here's discussed is the racing fraternity.
Yes, yeah.
What would be another fraternity that people talk about?
Well, one thinks I'm afraid of the Americans
Animal House.
when it comes to fraternities.
Oh, yeah,
frat boys.
Frat,
Oh, I
yeah.
hate a frat boy.
Or as they call it, Greek culture.
Is that what? Oh, because of the...
Well, that
Or the
means
Omega
something
Kappa
entirely
Phi.
different.
Yeah.
Greek
where I'm
culture on
from.
campus.
One of my other jobs was to choose
Jobs?
the best turned out
Did you say
horse.
jobs?
I mean, I had to sing for my lunch. I had to pick the best turned out horse in the last race.
Yeah.
And the one I like about them, because you get a bit of sometimes they'll plait the mane, you know that, which we were told the Princess Royal very much disapproves of plaiting of
The
mane or
princess?
tail.
She doesn't like it, the Princess Royal.
This being Princess Anne.
Yes.
Yeah, she was there.
Do you think there was a chance that she recognised you and sort of would
No.
say, "Oh, it's you, the double meddler"?
No, she didn't.
Well, when we saw Charles and Camilla and we saw them all in the paddock. It's quite strange. You're standing there looking at them, aren't
they
you?
did wave, but not directly to us.
I wanted Frank to go down.
Saw
And
them.
they would have loved chatting.
But anyway, they do this thing on the hind quarters of the horse.
Yeah.
They, you know, where some people have the Nike swoosh cut into their shaved side hair on their head.
Yes, trustworthy men.
Yeah, so they, it's often it's a football. It used to be a footballer thing, having things sort of. So the horses, they do a kind of. It looks like a chessboard across the bomb.
Oh.
I'd love to
We've
play.
all been there.
Wouldn't you love to play chess on a horse's backside? Wouldn't that be a brilliant thing to do? And it looks like, I don't know if do they still do the geometric mowing of yesteryear? You know, you'd watch a football match and they'd have that perfect grid of mowing that forms. Does that still exist, or has it
It's been a while
disappeared?
since I've seen
We
it.
always have
Yeah.
gone now, Frank.
If there's anyone out there, any groundsman,
Any mowers?
yeah, any what if Patrick
even one
Mower
man.
calls him?
I work with him, dear, as you
Yeah,
know.
we've worked with them all. So, yeah, if there's any groundsmen, do they? It could be my memory, but I don't think now. When you say "and now over to Jeff Harrison at the Cup final," you don't see that geometric mowing anymore.
No.
I wonder when that went.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
Ruth Jordan
Oh yes,
has been in touch, one of our
course she has.
regulars, as you know. She was a little concerned about our trip to Ascot.
okay,
I keep saying Ascot, it's Ascot, of course.
Is it?
Yeah.
okay.
Ruth says, I hope Frank didn't get too close to the horses at Ascot. I seem to remember a story of him being bitten really slowly by a horse who maintained eye contact throughout the biting.
That
Do you
is
recall
correct.
this?
That is true. That was when I was going to do a Wild West holiday, and I thought I'd better do some riding before. So yeah, I accidentally, I don't know what the woke terminology is for a Chinese burn.
I'm not sure there is any.
But I put a saddle on, and when you tie the strap underneath, I didn't do it quite tight. So when I went to get on, the whole saddle spun round and gave the horse a burn, an eastern burn.
At a sort of torso scale.
Yeah, and the horse, bit me, but very slowly. So I just stood there and let it happen. So I felt I deserved it.
I was chatting to AP McCoy, who Frank had sort of hissed to me because I was sat next to him. You know, he's a very famous jockey.
I think I used the word legend.
You did say legend. You did.
Without going legend, I just said legend.
He's a legend.
In a normal, yeah.
I told him about your Wild West experience over lunch.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. I said, I'm afraid Frank's very... I don't think I'd quite realised at that point that he'd won several Grand Nationals and I didn't know what I was dealing with.
Yes.
So I was saying, well, Frank's been on horses. I'm sorry.
Yes. I don't like horses.
I said he doesn't like them.
I find them, like
so
many animals, horrible.
Frank?
They are horrible.
Why would you say that?
Because they're horrible to each other and often to humans as well. We don't have to look very far for evidence of this.
Thank you very much. Good morning to you.
I was in the company. Here's some good news, though. Porcupines do not fire their quills.
Oh.
Speak for yourself.
Stand down, everyone.
Yeah, exactly. There'll be people at home that haven't been out the house for years in fear of that.
Unsellotaping mattresses from their back and front.
Exactly.
Taking off colanders from their head.
Exactly.
Do you like porcupines?
They're all right.
So?
I like something you can pet. You know
That's
what I mean?
what I think.
They're not good for stroking. So if you stroke them, make sure you don't go against the grain. That's my advice.
Do you know? I totally agree with you. I'd struggle. I think I'd have intimacy issues with them, just because you couldn't befriend one. Really, you couldn't have snuggle in the bed with them. That's the point of a pet for me.
We had one in the garden when I was a kid once. It showed up.
Yeah, right.
You had antelopes in the garden, didn't you?
You had
A porcupine showed up, yeah.
Sure, wasn't a badger.
This is in South Africa,
Okay.
obviously not the Isle
Is
of Man.
porcupine different to hedgehog?
Was it a badger
Yes.
was in the garden and you had a manga artist staying with you, and when he showed you his drawing of the badger, you thought it was a porcupine.
Yeah.
Is that what
And
happened?
I said, very expressive eyes.
Yeah,
Frank, I've got a confession.
exactly.
Guys, I've got a confession to make. I don't really understand the difference between a porcupine and a hedgehog. I sort of thought it was a bit like...
One was a punk version of another.
It's a porcupine. If you imagine a porcupine went to that barber who said, who gave me number 2 all over, then he would look like the hedgehog.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, they're bigger, though.
They are bigger, yeah.
So it's a bit spiky.
Bigger and blacker. And what I noticed, I had a sleepover at the zoo at the weekend. It is why I noticed this.
Officially, or...
I was drunk. I woke up cradled by an orangutan. And I woke up to worst. I'll be honest with you. Anyway.
Are you actually joking? At this
So,
Seriously, Frank?
you know I love a ginger.
Oh my God.
Anyway.
I can't believe you.
No, so I slept over. And
I slept over
at the zoo.
I don't know if it's odd the way you're referring to this, like you're dossing at your mate's house.
And one thing we did, we perfumed some boxes with stuff from bottles, not with our natural musk. And then we threw them into the, officially, we threw them into the porcupine. It came out to investigate. Yep. And when it's totally in concentration, you can reach out and just take the quill straight out of its back, like lifting a pen out of its holder in the post office. No, you can't do that. That'd be horrible.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
Will you tell me more about the zoo?
Yeah, so you have a sleepover in a small. I went before. Do you remember?
Yeah, I
when
do
I went
remember.
before, it was freezing though, but where it's lovely this time.
Do you hear the lions?
Oh, you hear the lions in the night. I would say it's quieter than my average night. So I'd say lions a little bit quieter than drunks. And I hear a lot of drunks in the night.
Oh, there's
Yeah.
ones going.
Screaming and shit.
"Whoa."
And also, I live near Hampstead Heath, which is a patch of green land in the north of London. And there's a lot of fireworks in the night. I don't know if it's like rogue firework enthusiasts. But sometimes, okay, if it's the 4th of July or some event, you know. But just randomly, like 1 o'clock in the morning, you need a load of fireworks going off.
Yeah, it does seem to be the case in London that there's never not a day for fireworks.
Yeah, and all drinking.
Yeah.
Indeed.
What time do the lions wake up, roughly?
They wake up about 4:30. I
Shut
don't know
up.
why. What's the point if you're not working?
Yeah.
Unless they got
4:30.
an MGM car waiting on
I was going to
the
say
thing.
some of them.
Did I tell you I saw a very old MGM movie, a silent movie, with Lon Chaney. You know him, Man of a Thousand
Oh, yeah, of
Faces.
course I do.
And they had the opening titles, and they had the MGM circle with the lion in it. And it was a silent movie. And the lion obviously didn't get it to roar because you wouldn't be able to hear it anyway. So the lion just looks at you like it's in its cabin on a cruise liner, just looking out through the porthole. It just looks.
Just go on.
And I thought, well, they could have had it. They could have put
Oh.
Grr
That's disappointing.
as a subtitle.
It's more a sort of commuting lion.
I don't want a lion who's just like you'd got drunk and been put in the cells for the night, and the lion worked at the police station and just come in and have a look. See how you're getting on.
Duty Sergeant Lion.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't like
So,
that at all.
did you see any other friends from the animal kingdom? You've got your favourites and then your enemies.
Well, we went. There was one thing that I found out which was interesting is that sometimes, like, for example, several of the predators, but the tigers. Tigers will be sitting quietly and a pigeon will land in and they'll just eat it.
What, did you witness this?
Oh, I'd love to witness
Oh,
that.
yeah, imagine that. What a day out.
I'd pay $1,000 to see that.
Oh my God.
Live. Don't send in your
I would
videos.
find that very distressing.
Oh, I find it distressing.
That's like Deliveroo for the Tigers.
But there are many things I'd pay $1,000 to see that I find distressing on some
yes,
level.
I think that's probably true.
Yes. So there's a few of the animals, not just them. I think the wild dogs as well. And pigeons.
Sorry, a wild dog's a thing. That's a bit of a
Oh, yeah.
cheat.
No, they are nasty things.
They're very odd-looking
Like, as I say,
prehistoric.
like most animals, they're absolutely vicious and nasty to each other. Nature red in tooth and claw, as Alfred Lord Tennyson said. So, so who'd have thought it? Pigeons land thinking, oh, this is a nice little place, but there's some they're gone. Yeah. Sorry if there's any pigeon fanciers out there, but stay out the lion's den, guys.
Frank Skinner.
Absolute Radio.
We've heard from Andy Wood,
Oh, yeah.
who has a question.
Bronte country.
Bronte country, correct. Frank, am I to assume that during your zoo sleepover you didn't hear the chimpanzees in secretive conversation?
I did hear. I heard
This
some.
we should say is Frank's. Was it your grandfather?
My grandfather overheard a group of chimpanzees in a circus trailer talking and maintained that they could talk but didn't because they knew they'd have to work in underground in the pit and be sent off to war and do all the dirty work that human beings didn't want to do. It's a reasonable theory in many ways. In some ways, very unreasonable.
You usually have at least one significant encounter with one of the primates during your zoo visits. Did that happen on this occasion?
I'll tell you something that happened, and this is the absence of creatures in a way. We went to a penguin section where there was no penguins at all.
Oh, that's depressing.
And the keeper said, do you know what this is famous for? And Buzz and Kath, my partner and son, both knew instantly that it was in a Harry Styles video.
Oh.
Where he, it's got like a white ramp in
it's
in
like
a
the
penguin.
quite 1930s sort of Art Deco. Yes, I'm familiar with it. Yes.
But many of the buildings at London Zoo are listed, and so even though it's no longer practical for penguins for some reason,
It's cruel.
they can't knock it down.
Oh, all right. They can't improve the penguin habitation.
No, they're not allowed to do that.
Yeah. I like the idea of the penguin saying, we're stuck with it, mate. It's a listed building.
Well, it reminds... It's
Sorry,
got
mate.
that-
I think my hands are tied.
I don't know if you're aware of the Harry Styles. I don't really know his work very well. I see that
do.
one when he's lying on the floor in like a cat suit. But he, the building really reminded me of. Buzz bought a toy which consisted of small penguins going up an escalator and then sliding down a big slide.
Yes.
With this sort of strange sort of music that you couldn't get out of your head. He used to put it on at breakfast time and let it run for the whole of breakfast time. And at the end of it, I just sang this thing all day. And it was called, very strangely, the name, it was like a dry flume they were on.
Right.
And it had a big sign on the top that said Running Go. That was the name of it, which means nothing, especially as running was spelled RUNING. It's like the strangest, like from another planet toy. And it is, you can't take your eyes off them steadily jogging up the escalator and then coming down this slide. And it really looked like that.
Isn't it? It's quite a famous architect, isn't it, who designed that? Anyway.
What, Running Go?
Not Running Go.
I think
penguin
Running-
enclosure. It's someone like Lutyens or someone like that.
Is
I
it?
believe.
Well,
Yeah.
Running Go, I think that's... when those translations from... I think it's a problem. But it's not going to be ruining
Ruining Go.
There's no runes involved in
I
it.
mean, it does sound haunted and magical.
It does.
Run and go.
I'm gonna do a video of it and bring it in. It's really something very... you know when people get addicted to computer games? I'm getting a bit of that with Ruining Go.
This is Frank Skinner. This is
Absolute Radio.
This is Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio. Now over to my colleague.
You can text the show on 81215, follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Frank on the Radio, or email the show via frank@absoluteradio.co.uk.
That was beautiful, I thought.
It was beautifully done.
Beautiful. It was like something from The Lion King. So we've been talking about all sorts of stuff in the first hour. I was wondering if the reason the pigeons land in the lion enclosure with such confidence is years of inhabiting Trafalgar Square has lulled them into a false sense.
Those guys never moved.
Yeah, exactly. You can sit right on their heads. They're fine with it.
They're really strong, silent. Whoa!
Yeah.
Do you want to hear? Well, whether you do or not is irrelevant because I'm going to share this with you. This is from Mark Ryan.
Okay.
And I think you'll be very happy about this, Frank. He says, I don't know whether this is a typo, incidentally. He says, share Frank and team.
She's not on this week.
No. I wondered whether he meant to say dear, but I'm happy with share.
Yeah.
That was the best bit of advertising I've ever experienced. I have just bought Run and Go from Amazon for $14.99.
Wow.
And then you know what I like? Mark ends it. Can't wait. 4 exclamation marks.
I'll tell you what, Mark, how would you like to hear the theme tune from Ruining Go?
Sorry, Ruining Go.
Ruining
I'm allowed
Go.
to play this, am I?
Yeah.
Here we go. This is what it sounds like. You wouldn't think that was an earworm, but you would be surprised. Walking around going dun 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 dun.
There's an explosion element as well to it.
Yeah, there's like yes, it's all bells and whistles, as they say.
They haven't gone for They've gone gilding the lily, haven't they? The people who make the sounds for ruining go. They haven't thought let's go understate
Can we
it.
just establish we do know that's how you pronounce it? Definitely.
No, I think it's.
Have you made this up?
I think it's a misspelling.
Okay.
I think it should be running, but even if they'd spelled it right, running go
still means nothing.
Well, Rob Yarwood from Brentwood.
Oh yeah.
He says, heard about the Penguin game. Like the opener.
Okay.
Heard about the Penguin game. Bought one for my kids 25 years ago.
20? They did. I didn't think they had the technology 25 years ago.
25 years of ruining go.
Called Penguin Race Game. Retro
Okay.
version still available. So this must have been the Mark 1 Ruin Go.
Oh, okay.
Not really a race.
Well, when
No,
there's no race.
As they just followed each other upstairs and then down a track.
Yeah, I think that the title is still work in progress. I think the actual game is mesmerising.
It'd be quite funny to invent whatever the device is, and they are clearly just sitting looking at it going, what do we call it?
Exactly.
What even is this?
Yeah, but how much were they short of time in that meeting that someone said, "What about ruining go?" And somebody said, "I think you've nailed it, Leopold."
As they kept checking their watch.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Rob finishes by saying, great thing was when one of the penguins fell off the track.
I've never had that.
Have you not?
I'm amazed that they slide down the dry flume on regular, and they just slide. They never get trapped or stop or anything. It's a beautiful, well-oiled. It's like a Swiss watch mechanism.
25 years of development.
Yeah, it's true.
That was one of the lyrics they were going to put in 3 lines.
Yeah.
And then they decided it didn't scan quite so well. David Baddiel got very picky about it.
Yeah, it was about the offices at the FA. 25 years of development. We with a sort of an open plan module, and then we thought it had got too technical. But there's always the next version.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
I tell you what, many years ago when I was a child, there was a popular quiz show called Take Your Pick. And they had a thing on it. We were talking about the racing fraternity before and whether the word fraternity. I can't imagine a modern day quiz show having a regular feature which included the word interlude. But there was a thing on it called the yes-no interlude. And this was how it was done. Michael Miles, the host, would talk to the competitor, the guest. And then there was a man called Bob Danvers Walker, who was the voice of Pathé News, who would stand with an actual gong and a hammer, a little gong that he held. And the idea, they had to talk for a minute without saying yes or no.
Okay.
And Michael Miles would trick them into saying it usually. And if they got through, they won like 10 shillings. So...
what a show.
Now, they got something like 30 quid and they did They fanned the money out.
Yeah.
Anyway, I've been watching a lot of football manager interviews. And most of the senior managers are from overseas now, and they say moment a lot in their interviews.
What do you mean? Give us an example.
So they would say, yes, in this moment we weren't defending well, and there's lots of that. And I've noticed that English managers have started saying moment as well, even though it doesn't quite work. And I was wondering if you could choose a profession and then, like the yes-no interlude, that you'd take a word away that they couldn't use. So managers can no longer say moment.
Seems
like
reasonable.
Footballers used to say obviously a lot.
Yeah.
I knew a guy who was taught by the philosopher Karl Popper. And if anyone used the word obvious, he would always say obvious to who, as philosophers do. But also singers, rock singers and stuff, if they didn't say all right or yeah.
Oh, yeah, I mean, then they're stuck on there. You can't say indubitably.
No,
If
exactly.
you're in Kiss.
What about tennis players if they couldn't say "come on"? In fact, a lot of sports people come on. So if there's
Yeah.
anyone out there who cares, I'd love to know what word or phrase you'd take from, you'd bang the gong at in any profession just to make life more difficult for them.
Yes.
It's an ambitious texting, but we've had
I like
had
it.
textings like, would you rather swim in a pool with a corpse or a piece of excrement?
One of the all-time greats.
And a lot of people.
Incidentally, what did we decide
I
was
think
preferable?
corpse won.
I went corpse.
Yeah, yeah, I went corpse definitely.
Yeah.
Just for the anecdote.
Well,
More just to avoid the
The
to
excrement.
be
yeah,
honest,
the excrement.
speaking personally, I'd be so frightened of the fact I was swimming. If there was half a dozen corpses in there, it wouldn't really bother me.
Got back in the pool. I was talking to AP McCoy as well about that you'd started swimming later on.
But I'm still not great at it. They offered me, did I tell you they offered me celebrity shark cage? And I said I turned it down because I said I'd be the only person on it who wasn't mainly frightened of the shark.
Frank Skinner on
Absolute Radio.
In terms of the question you raised earlier about the sort of diamond or checkerboard pattern mode into football pitches, where's that gone?
Yes, I said you get it on horses' hind quarters, but I haven't seen it on a football pitch for ages.
Well, Mark Allen gets in touch and says the Premier League outlawed fancy patterns a few seasons ago, Philistines. Now, I would have been more sceptical of Mark Allen were it not for the fact that his Twitter handle is @thegrasscutter.
Oh wow!
Fair enough.
Yes.
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier, I think someone texted in earlier that I'd forgotten about this, that apparently linesmen, as they were then, assistant referees as they are now, used to use that grass cutting
Correct.
thing as a way of judging an offside, because it's just...
Yes.
And maybe in the age of VAR, they don't want any additional geometrics that aren't completely measured and trustworthy.
Yes.
You know what I mean? You could mow it with a slight angle. It could throw the whole offside. I mean, accidentally. I'm not suggesting espionage.
I was going to say,
just-
one winger gets a 1 metre advantage because of a diagonal.
Exactly. Yeah.
Just for clarity, it was 240 Frank who got in touch.
Yes. Good. I don't want to take
Regarding
anyone else's thing, because I'd forgot about that.
Yes.
But maybe that's why the FA stopped geometric mowing.
Okay. I have some further news for you.
Can I say, when we were judging the horses, I was a bit disappointed that there wasn't one straw hat with 2 holes in that I used to see on. That would have meant me... they would have won it immediately. I mean, they could take it off before the race because it would just blow
Can you
off.
imagine?
That would have been great. Come on.
I would have liked that. I would have liked to have entered a donkey, just got a rogue donkey and sit, and everyone would have been too embarrassed to say, is that okay? Is that the same? It looks a bit different.
What's your equine ambition?
I beg your pardon.
My main equine
Text
ambition, I would love to see, and this is something I've seen on telly and at the circus, but never live,
Go on.
a horse counting. You know, when they count by sort of scraping, they used to ask them a maths question. What's 3 and 5, Neddy? And they would go... And just as they do 8, the bloke would be in like a rocket to stop them doing any... But it's a brilliant spectacle.
Horses look so elegant until they open their mouths. Their teeth really let them down.
Well,
I've got to be honest. There were some really good-looking animals in that parade,
yeah.
And
Then they smile.
yeah,
Yeah, but I noticed they smile with that. You know what?
would it kill you to get veneers?
Sometimes someone will say to me, "Can I have my photo with you?" And if I've just eaten, I will smile, but like with lips together.
Yeah.
So I don't want them to see all the food in my teeth.
Do you not
And the
think...
horses were like that.
I just think the proportions are all wrong. You know, I think God was even Homer nods, and I think on this occasion he didn't give it his full attention when he was designing. I'm sorry, Frank.
With the horse.
Yeah, do you not agree?
Well, I don't know. Like I say, every time I've ridden one, they've been horrible to me. But
Horrible to you. I mean,
But,
make it sound a bit personal.
I think it's because I quibble a bit about the fee, hoping that they'll start counting.
Frank Skinner.
Frank Skinner.
Absolute Radio.
Bob Bruce has been in touch, Frank.
Bob Bruce.
He says he's referring to, you were talking earlier about words, not necessarily that you'd ban.
Some professions overuse certain
Yeah.
words and phrases. So football managers and interviews now say moment a lot. Watch out for it. It's probably a good thing, not a good thing to introduce in the close season, but you'll notice it.
If you had to ban a word, so for example, in the catering industry, service, that's one they like to use a lot.
Oh,
I wouldn't
yeah.
let them use
Do
that.
they?
Oh, yeah, they say that. And they refer to the pass, which I always find rather pretentious. Have you seen that in any Gordon Ramsay shows? They say, if you're up at the pass, what's the pass? Turns out it's just that window where the chef puts the
Oh,
plates.
like the hatch.
They call it the pass,
The
not the
pass?
Khyber pass.
Not the serving hatch.
They call the serving hatch the pass. Any chefs listening?
I
will
never knew that.
I don't like that.
I think they're trying to.
Hence the old saying, we'll cut them off at the serving hatch.
I just think they're trying to give it a dignity it doesn't have.
No.
The pass.
All these things shall come to serving hatch.
Yes,
Don't build your pass up. Listen to this, Bob Bruce. Hi, Frank, Emily and Pierre. I would ban all Formula One drivers, he continues, from saying, for sure.
Ah,
It's quite
now
a German
What
thing.
say you?
Yeah, Tottenham striker. What was he? The famous German centre forward.
Oh, Klinsmann.
Yeah, Jurgen Klinsmann used to say for sure.
Did he?
And I realised he was looking for a translation for natürlich, which they
Yes.
use a lot in German.
Yeah.
Because naturally it doesn't quite work. So he would say for sure. And then a lot of people started saying for sure. It's very catching.
Yeah,
I
for
think
sure.
people are so desperate to think, what do I say in the post-match interview? That if they recognise a theme, they'll go for it.
If they're constantly being told things that they agree with.
That thing of calling someone a big unit.
Oh, yeah.
I say, yeah, it's a pretty... But that's relative. I remember that happening in cricket, and I thought, I never heard that before.
I think I would ban, just you reminded me of the talk of Gordon Ramsay, all the sort of master chef food critic style shows. I would ban them from calling food witty.
I've never heard that.
Yeah, it's all very witty. I think it's an obscene thing to say about food as a comedian. I resent it.
No, really? What does it mean?
If you put pop rocks in your dessert and they pop in your mouth, a little popping candy, they go, oh, that's very witty.
I don't
Shut up.
like
No, it's
witty.
not.
I was
It's not.
talking.
Sorry, Frank.
I was talking with my brother-in-law, and my brother-in-law writes really. He writes many things, but he writes very tough dramas. He's got one on
Our greatest
television
writers.
at the moment. Emily's going to help me with the title, but she's not getting the hint.
No, I do. I am
Too late.
familiar with it, but I have forgotten the title. It was called
Okay.
A Better Something.
I thought you were going to help me out.
Well,
It's all right. I didn't.
I'm not
realise.
always I don't always know the answer.
Anyway, he writes a lot of, and we were discussing within the family we could be known as witty and gritty.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair summary of our careers, I like
Yes.
to think.
Frank, listen to this. 848. Weirdly,
Oh God, he's going to hate me now for forgetting the name of his TV show.
Weirdly, I'm sitting here in the car having been let down on a horse box hire, and I'm trying to find a way to get a horse to a cross-country lesson. Suddenly, I hear Frank utter the words, "What is your equine ambition?"
Okay,
There you go.
perfect. Can I say that my brother-in-law's show is called Best Interests?
This is correct.
And it's Yeah, it's getting some. It's had a brilliant review in the Roman
watched it. I
Catholic
think
Journal,
it's
The Tablet.
fantastic.
Oh.
Yeah, it did. I mean, rave.
Frank Skinner on
Absolute Radio.
Frank, I've got a quick personal question for you. When you were at the zoo, London Zoo, did you see the bears?
No.
Okay. The reason I ask is because no one's ever seen the bears. I've never seen the bears. I'm starting to think they're an urban myth.
Oh.
They're very lazy.
Are the bears at London Zoo?
Yes.
Because, you know, some of the animals reside at Whipsnade,
Oh.
do they?
which is a club I used to go to in Soho.
I like the idea of are the bears at London Zoo being the ambiguity version of the phrase, do bears go to
Oh,
the loo in the
yes,
woods? Well, are the bears at London Zoo? Who knows?
Yeah, but you could say, are there elephants at London Zoo? Well, there aren't. They're at Whipsnade where they got more space.
Is that right?
Even though I think the traffic sign has an elephant on it to symbolise the zoo.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that?
Yeah.
Oh, I quite enjoy that. I like that.
So I think the rhinos, I seem to remember they're at Whipsnade as well.
Well, talking of the zoo, 747
Oh, yes.
has got in touch.
Okay.
Very 70s.
It is, isn't it?
70s aviation.
I have a picture of the Beatles coming down steps at the airport. But carry
What
on.
about when I was on a plane once and the pilot said, "Hey, hello, this is your pilot, Kent Royal." I'm like,
Oh, wow.
That is
do
great.
you know? And then me and my friend sat in our seat and we spent the entire 4-hour flight fantasising about what Kent Royal looked like.
Well, the only other
What do you think he looked like?
There was the ITV wrestling commentator, the sort of Murray Walker of wrestling, was Kent Walton. And I remember he used to say, "Hi there, Grapple fans," in one of those very mid-Atlantic voices. You know, he used to say, because wrestling used to be on Wednesday night, and then it would be on the big sports show on Saturday afternoon. And at the end he'd say, "Happy Thursday, Friday, see you Saturday." That was his...
Ooh.
That was his departure. But that's the only other Kent I can think of.
He looked-
Royale.
Oh, yeah. He was everything I hoped for and more. He had aviators.
Was he?
Yeah.
Oh, you did see
He'd done
Kent Royal?
Oh, we waited. We waited to see Kent Royal. I wasn't getting off that plane until I saw him.
No.
I'm
I shook
picturing...
him by the hand.
He was met at the airport by his brother Casino.
That deserves something. Come on. That deserves a jingle of some sort.
Let's see what we've got here.
He was your classic. I think there may even have been a packet of Winstons in the top pocket.
Oh,
I'm picturing the guy who played the FBI agent in Twin Peaks.
He was
Agent Cooper.
Yeah.
he
I-
was
sort of-
much more Rod Steiger in a Nam film,
Oh.
is what we're talking.
Okay.
That was, how do you like your coffee, Agent Cooper? Black as midnight on a moonless night.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, what was his name? He was a something.
Cooper,
He was
Carl McLaughlin.
he was
Or
in
McLachlan.
wasn't he in
Carl
Sex in the City as well?
Very
Yes.
good.
Extensively.
And he had a catchphrase which was "alrighty."
All right.
What do you think of that as a catchphrase?
Alrighty.
Yeah.
747, I didn't tell you what he said.
Go on.
Hi, I do apologise.
Oh,
Hi,
gosh.
Frank and gang. Dudley Zoo has listed Tecton buildings as well, if you remember. I'm sure you must have been in your youth. Tecton, of course, Tecton Buildings was connected with Lubetkin, who designed the penguin enclosure.
Oh God, I didn't. I mean, I went to Dudley Zoo, but we didn't talk much about the architecture. It was at Dudley Zoo when I was a small child. Where what was that? And is that my
That's
fault?
Frank.
That can't be my fault. Oh God,
You've
it
been
was.
showing us the penguin videos, and it's all kicked off.
This morning told me to keep my phone on in case they make the job decision. So, yeah, that was where a monkey got sort of spread-eagled on the bars,
Oh, I don't
and
like
I was
that.
in my pram and it urinated all over me. And the sound of urine hitting a hand-knitted cardigan is one that has lived with me ever since. It became like a family story when that monkey weed on. Yeah. So, yeah, I have many happy memories from Dudley Zoo. All of them through a haze of steam.
Frank Skinner. Absolute Radio.
This is Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
I had you covered there.
Yeah.
With Pierre Novelli.
And Emily Dean. You can text the show on 81215
You can follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Frank on the Radio.
and email the show via frank@absoluteradio.co.uk.
Back to Frank in the studio.
Beautiful. It did feel like one of those when you get two film stars come on at the Oscars and they share an auto cue.
Yes.
What I liked is that we did that little cutesy one show thing of I said Pierre's name and he
Yes.
said mine. It was
Yes.
very funny. We put a twist on it, Frank.
It's beautiful. At the Oscars, that's one of the things that thing about stopping profession saying for people Oscar presenters, I'd stop them using the phrase the motion picture industry. I mean, when is that from? Like 1810 or something? The motion picture.
Ow, like Judy Garland.
You mean like films? Are they like films?
Televisual
Motion
programs.
pictures. I mean, gosh.
Yeah.
Also, could you also stop them using the Foreign Press Association? When did they get involved?
Do they use them?
Oh yeah, Foreign Press Association are always getting mentioned. I thought you hated the press. Don't get them to judge all the awards.
They do pop up a lot.
Yes,
Oh,
they're always popping up.
I missed that.
Okay. We have had readers getting in touch about other sort of industry phrases they would like to see people try and cope without, essentially.
Yes.
There are certain American golf commentators who, after a wonderful shot, will declare, "Are you kidding me?" with heavy emphasis on the kidding.
Oh, really? I've heard it used, but I didn't know
Try
it was
it
a
in an
golf
American
thing.
accent. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. That's Gaza.
Well, you did,
Yeah, I did.
and I was pleasantly surprised.
Yeah.
Peter Alice would never have said that on the
How would
golf.
what would he have said?
No.
Oh, my word.
My
He'd
word.
say something like that.
That's dignified, isn't
The
it?
guy who did the tennis, was he Dan Maskell?
Oh yes. What was his thing? Good gracious.
He would say, "Oh my word!"
Oh my
if it's a
word.
really good rally.
I associate that quite heavily with my South African relatives trying not to blaspheme.
Oh,
If you hear "oh my word," that's gonna be a very
Relatives
South African
trying
thing.
not to blaspheme. What sort of a world were you brought up in?
So it's a bigger deal to say "oh my god" in South Africa than
Is
here.
it?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay.
sounds good. I may move. I did think about it. I was in South Africa once, and they had like 3-bedroom flats for 24 grand.
Did
And
they?
I thought, oh, if I could just get one if I just came once every 2 years.
Yeah.
It'd be worth it.
You went over for your football work, didn't you?
Well, I went over on holiday originally. I did the garden route.
Oh.
What's that?
It's a sort of coastal bit. It's one of these.
Have you heard of
It's
that?
very.
It's very famous.
It's very
Okay.
beautiful.
Okay.
Yeah, the Western Cape.
Oh man,
I
that's what I wore. The Western Cape. It's the Eastern Cape. It's too light for that.
This is extraordinary. Gary, a 66-year-old in Harlow,
Okay.
has a theory. He says, let Frank know that when fireworks go off into the night, he seems to think it's often a message sent out to, how can I put this, to let potential buyers know that there are illicit substances available.
Is it
should they
really?
require them?
It's a bit Blackbeard, isn't it? Sort of.
It's
It's a
Iron
strange,
but
it's
also,
a
I think
strange way of letting them.
I think of it as a sort of undercover operation, not normally announced with pyrotechnics.
I tell you what, I've got a busy week on with Chris. I'm going to have to get some Catherine wheels in.
Yeah, exactly.
If I'm going to unload all of these kilos.
Oh, man.
It feels like a lot of trouble to go to.
If it's marijuana, they just use sparklers.
Yes, yes.
For the class A.
For the Class A stuff, that's why I've got this bugle on me.
What did they? I mean, I was going to say it must be a busy old night, mustn't it? New Year's Eve.
Oh, That's
I mean, they must be doing a roaring
that's the only
trade,
reason
Frank.
the fireworks are happening at all.
Yeah. Well, what about the 5th of November? People turning up at family homes saying that, have you got any good K.
You go, no, that tin foil's just got a baked potato in it.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
This news in, Frank,
Yeah.
from Paul Hughes. Read your questions earlier. Question, I do apologise. Yes, chessboard pitches are still mown. Tranmere Rovers looking splendid for the start of the season.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I don't know if they have VAR, do they, in that division?
No,
I don't know.
the grass cutter claimed it was the Premier League that had banned it.
Yeah. But that's when you go to the first match of the season, there's always one person near you who says how good the pitch looks.
Really?
That's the thing. We had a stair carpet fitted this week,
I love that story.
and it was hot. So one of the guys worked with no shirt on.
Oh, I do
Cool.
love that story.
He was in great shape. Oh, but obviously, people who take their shirt off always are.
Did you tell him that?
Apart from Gibby on iCarly, generally speaking, it's just sort of fairly ripped people who take their shirt off.
Are you having it replace the carpet? Was it getting worn?
Yes.
Okay.
So then at the end of it, this guy, he left us a scented candle as a thank you. And then he went to our piano and played some classical music with no shirt on.
I beg your pardon. Are you quite sure this was a carpet fitters you hired and not some sort of agency
No, honestly, this is...
of erotic?
Yeah,
Did he? Could he play well?
he did play well.
Is it part of the service?
Played a lot of steps. No, he didn't. No, he didn't. In Spiral Cup, no.
Was this sort of Renaissance builders you went to?
Well, you know, sometimes you get people who sound a bit middle class. He's one of those guys.
All right.
Well, they did a great job on the carpet, but I wasn't expecting the topless piano.
So he didn't put
work.
his shirt on for the
No.
piano? Oh.
Au contraire.
It would be a bit of excess respect to the piano, I think, if you went, oh, obviously I'll
Yeah,
put my t-shirt back on.
Yeah, I'll put tails on for it.
It's a bit Monty Python, though, seated there.
Well,
with-
he had shorts on, for goodness sake.
What, we're meant to be grateful for that?
Well, I was. I have to clean the school.
Kath, oh my God. Kath, not so much so.
Kath,
What did Kath make of him?
Kath said, oh, I didn't even hear it. Because he played for about 5 or 10 minutes.
This is all for your benefit.
Did you take any pictures?
I didn't think it polite to listen, sir. That's the opening line of The Importance of Being Earnest. Bloke sits playing piano, and then when the butler comes in, he said, did you hear what I was playing, Lane? And he said, I didn't think it polite to listen, sir. That's how I was with the carpet fitter. But yeah, it's different.
Frank Skinner.
Absolute Radio.
May I just share a couple of things with you briefly? Charlbury Baggy, be a nice friend for you, Frank.
Yes.
My mum recalls being at Dudley Zoo watching a mother chastise her child for hanging over the edge of the lion enclosure.
Yeah.
Not because of the danger, but get down, you'll scratch your shoes. Heavily accented black country accent. Perhaps Frank could do it much better than me, I'm sure.
I liked your version.
Oh, I tried. And Bulmer has confirmed that fireworks for illicit substances is definitely a thing in Sheffield between 6 and 7 p.m. on Sunday night. 3 set off every week.
Wow, well, what a discovery this is. I hope we haven't
we're saying
killed
it's a
it for the
discovery.
drugs industry.
For loads of
Do you know
dealers
what?
listening going, oh,
I
Yeah.
find they're very rational, forgiving people.
Yes, I'm sure it'll be okay.
it's not like being in the magic circle. You're allowed to discuss
No.
your tricks and how they work.
May I
man.
share something with you boys? It's been on my mind this morning.
What about the peripatetic drug dealer who has a flare gun? He's like a pop-up drug dealer. Anyway,
Heard of a drug dealer
can I say
described as-
that Absolute Radio disapproves of the use of illegal drugs? Carry on.
We're not doing a read of any sort.
No.
No.
There's a survey I wanted to discuss with you both, and it's one of those interesting surveys that I think, who gets involved in these surveys? I never get asked to do anything as interesting as this.
No.
The only ever questions I get asked are, how did you hear about us? And
Yes.
do you get that asked that?
Yeah.
Through Google?
I can never remember.
They say it's normally word of mouth, Google, or something else. I just say something else, none of your business. Anyway, the survey I came across was to do with what food sounds people find like the most appealing. Do you want to know what was up there? Have you seen this?
These are sounds of food.
Yeah, so it was sizzling bacon, for example.
Of course.
I mean, we're all going to predict that.
Yeah.
The rustling of a crisp packet.
Less food, more packaging.
That's true.
Personally, I find that intensely irritating, but we'll come to that.
Agreed.
Oh, we'll come to that.
Okay. Well, we were out, the three of us were out the other night. We went to the Globe Theatre
Oh,
Yes.
it's
to
fabulous.
see The Comedy of Errors. And afterwards, Emily had popcorn and she did that thing of ripping open the packet and doing a gesture of, please, everyone.
a slightly sort of sultanate. Please.
I loved
did that for
Yeah.
your benefit, and because
I think it was sultanate and vinegar.
and I got out the Haribo Tang Fastic.
You did. You were really pulling out the
You
stop.
quickly set off a firework to let people know that you had some Tang Fastics.
How dare you? We'd gone to see, we should say, Pierre's good friend George.
Yes, George Fouracres, the man himself, and Comedy of Errors.
And
Of course, Pierre has to have friends with surnames like 4 Acres. It
Oh,
sounds like they come from the medieval.
Stage
Yes.
name. Stage name.
Oh, is it?
No,
Is
he's
it?
a very humble, original.
His real name is 7 Hectares.
his real name. What is? Maybe he won't want to share that. So.
I got to say, he was brilliant.
Yeah.
And even
charming
though he was
man,
from
charming.
Willenhall, which is too near Wolverhampton for my liking, he was brilliant. And it was brilliant.
When
Really,
regarding
wasn't
food noises, I
Yeah.
didn't say anything during the production, but to my left was a woman doing
I heard
borderline
her.
illegal things
I
to a
heard
toffee
her.
lolly.
Oh, really?
I could actually hear her.
Yes, and because she was sat near a pillar, she would sort of lean across, sort of in front of me to see certain scenes.
Yeah.
And then the noise would be coming almost from under my own chin.
Did
It's
she?
horrible.
Oh, that sounds
Did you not
terrible.
hear it? Can I
No.
say something to you? You're oddly tolerant, I find, at theatres. Because you never pick up on things. I'll say, when we went to see Oklahoma and there was a man picking off all his sunburn sitting right next to me
Yes.
and leaving it all over. Honestly,
That's actually one of my favourite food sounds. That's what Armin Mivers told me.
oh,
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
we're talking about appealing or satisfying sounds.
Your favourite food sounds is what. What shocked me about this list that they put is it doesn't include the only food stuff I can think of off the top of my head that forefronts its audio aspect.
Yeah.
And that's Rice Krispies. Snap, crackle and pop. It never mentions that.
No.
No, that is odd.
Well, it had. I'll tell you why that is, Frank.
Go on.
I know their ways. These surveys, close quotes, they're always commissioned. You'll find there'll be a brand involved somewhere,
Oh, no,
won't there?
that's a letdown. if there
But
is.
of course, the top sound was the whistle of haggis.
Yes.
Such as the following products. Okay, all right.
Well, all I will say, to give you a clue, in there, which I don't believe actually, was the snapping of a chocolate bar.
Well, that can be nice, especially a dime. That's got a
A
good snap.
dime. Frank
There's
loves a
there's
dime.
nothing like a dime.
Oh, you did do that, didn't you? You actually did do that.
I think
26%, Frank, said they liked the slicing of a crusty loaf of bread. What say you, Pierre?
I
Frank?
could not find a sound more stressful than cutting my own slice of bread, because I
Hate it.
know that the bottom is going to be perilously thin.
Yeah, exactly.
And the top thick as a doorstop.
Have you ever cut a decent slice?
Maybe once.
Nah, maybe with stale bread you could do it.
So
But what's
pear-shaped,
why?
my
Bit of
loaves. I
stability.
agree.
Yeah, you end up getting these sort of, your loaf becomes as though it's been written in italics.
I have a lot of
I
junk
don't
in the
like
trunk
crust-
of
I don't
my
like crusty.
slices. Do you don't like
like
what?
I don't like crusty. It actually hurts me.
I'm team crust.
What do you
Okay.
like, Slim Sear? Do you remember Slim Sear bread?
Yeah. No,
It was diet bread.
I'm mad about bread.
I'm team crust. I want shrapnel in my gums. That's what I like.
I like meat.
Also in there,
If I had to pick my favourite food sounds, most of them would be in the children's song "Old MacDonald Had a Farm." Or I'll tell you what I do like.
most of them would be in McDonald's.
From a vegetable point of view, I like that that you get when you tip mushy peas out of a tin.
Oh,
You know when they won't come at first, and then you shake and they go, and they just drop out, and they still got, the ridges of the can is still on the mushy pea canister. Not sinister, canister.
the producer's laughing with intense recognition here. I've never done it.
I did not know that was a sound.
I
and
didn't.
I
Oh.
was so upset to learn about it.
I'm gonna record it for you.
Oh my God! I would
No, I know the sound he means because I've had that. For example, do you know you can get tinned spaghetti, for example?
Yes, of course.
If you pour that in, it's a similar sound sometimes.
Yeah,
It's a
but it
fizz-
doesn't. But the actual, it retains the shape of the can, the mushy peas.
like
You're making it sound like
Americans-
it's got conscious involvement here.
like Americans with cranberry sauce, cranberry jelly on Thanksgiving. They're just full solid can with the ridges still in it. To
Yeah,
plop to the
that's what
dish.
you want. Yeah.
But that with mushy peas.
I tell
mushy
you what
peas.
I like.
I want to shave my head and run away. Just thinking about
you know
that.
what
Don't
I
do that
like?
again.
You know what I like, and they haven't got here? I like the hiss of the fizzy drink. What I love most
Hiss
about
tin.
the hiss, and you only get this with Coca-Cola, I find. They're not paying me, this isn't a read, is the mysterious little plume of smoke
Oh, yeah.
you get with
That
it.
is good.
What is that? Why do you get the
No, I
smoke?
like that as
Do
well.
you? The brown
What,
smoke?
what about the sound of an uncooked egg hitting a corrupt politician?
Come
Bit of
on.
anti-political. I just I choose not to.
Frank Skinner on
Absolute Radio.
In terms of favourite food sounds, 283 gets in touch. Hi Frank, the beautiful suction sound of the first spoon of trifle being lifted from the bowl.
Yes, very good.
As a family, we gather round it at Christmas and shout, "Do the noise!"
That is...
Oh, I love do the noise.
Followed up by "Our world is quite small." Joe from Essex.
I like Joe from Essex, although I can say I have never said do the noise to anyone.
No, that's right.
I heard
It's I love a family tradition like that. Those all gathering round.
We've also had 597. Hi, Frank, Emily, and Pierre. Popcorn popping is a nice food sound. Better than that sweetie wrapper thing that always goes on in the cinema. Why do they sell noisy food? Why? That is from Simon of Sudbury, our medieval
It's a
correspondent.
question oft asked. I mean, popcorn's pretty noisy.
I would have preferred that lady next to me at the Globe have popcorn.
Yeah, but you know what I hate about pop? I love popcorn.
What about the man on my
Generally.
right with the gyrating leg? I couldn't be doing with that.
Anyway, you know when you get to the bottom of the cardboard popcorn and there's the unpopped?
The damned.
I hate the unpopped.
Or as I call a fast track to a £2,000 dental implant.
I always think chimpanzees are like the unpopped corn. Why haven't you evolved into humans? Why you just wouldn't get in the lift, would you? No, we're not getting in the lift. We stay where we are.
I like the idea of you sleeping over at a zoo and whispering, "Pull yourself up by your bootstraps, for goodness sake." into
Why are
the
you
chimpanzee.
still here, you chimpanzees? You should be with us in the lodges.
Have you no
Damn
desire
dirty
to
apes.
read?
We've shown you how.
Oh man! Well, lots
They
of their
know,
colleagues
Frank,
have done
I'm
it.
with your grandfather. They know what they're doing.
No, exactly. When I was at when we went for drinks after the Comedy of Errors with George and us three. Can I say it? What a delight it is as well for a black country bloke to be a regular performer, to have played Hamlet at the Globe. It makes me happy. As a man who spends half of my life, people saying, "Well, I didn't think you'd be interested in poetry." "Oh, what are you doing at an art gallery?" I'm surprised you're at the op. Yeah, all right. Don't let the accent fool you. So I was very happy about that. But Emily went up and got me a tomato juice
I think
With
I
a-
said make it spicy.
with a piece of celery. Not a million miles away from the dry flume that features in Ruining Go. It's a massive. It's a fruit. It's a food you want to get rid of. Celery.
Yeah.
No one in that survey said, "Oh yeah, the lovely crunch of celery." The celery is just so rubbish.
Yeah, yeah.
It's really a utensil.
It is really. And you know what? When it's in the Virgin Mary, which I purchased for you, I did
Yes.
apologise, but you seemed okay with that. You didn't
Oh,
feel it
okay.
was disrespectful. And it's there as an accessory, and you think, well, as it's here, I may as well. I wouldn't have chosen it.
Well, it's actually less offensive to a Catholic than the Bloody Mary,
Oh, yes.
which is an attack on Queen Mary and her treatment of the Catholics. Pierre's looking at me as if it isn't.
No, Pierre's looking at you as if it's absolute radio.
No, okay. Oh, yeah, he'll Google it in a minute. I've always said, of course, that eating celery is like eating a violin. You can feel the strings snapping as you bite into it. Yuck. Look, I got through today. Thank you guys for your support, and Lucy for getting me ginger shots, and at Pierre's suggestion, giant-sized marshmallows, which he said are good for the voice. Well, it tasted good. Look, if the good Lord spares us and the creeks don't rise, we'll be back again this time next week when I will be able to speak properly. Now get out.
This is Frank Skinner. This is
Absolute Radio.